The village of Ravenspire had long been shadowed by fear. Its cobblestone streets, lit by flickering lanterns, seemed to curl inward under the weight of a legend too terrifying to speak aloud. The Alpha King's dragon, an enormous jet-black beast with eyes like molten gold, was said to guard the borders of the Silverfang Pack's territory. No villager dared venture near the forest at night, for those who did never returned. Ilara, a young healer with a gentle heart and a fire in her spirit, moved through her small cottage, tending to her herbs and potions. Unlike the villagers who whispered of the dragon in trembling tones, she refused to live in fear. Her parents had been healers, passing down their knowledge of plants, remedies, and ancient energy work, and she had inherited both skill and courage. The day began like any other, with the morning mist curling around the forest edges. But when the scream shattered the stillness, a scream not of human terror, but of agony from a creature, Ilara felt a pull she could not resist. Throwing her cloak over her shoulders, she ran toward the sound. The forest was thick and shadowed, the trees twisting like blackened spires toward the sky. Deeper inside, she found the dragon, its massive body collapsed over the roots of an ancient oak. Smoke curled from its nostrils, and its scales were marred by deep cuts and burns. The fight, she realized, must have brought it here, and then she saw the Alpha King himself. He was standing a short distance away, a storm incarnate, radiating power and danger. Tall, with sharp, commanding features, his eyes glimmered gold, mirroring the dragon's own. Clad in black leather and silver chain, he exuded authority that even the wind seemed to obey. Every villager who spoke of him as merciless had not exaggerated. Ilara froze for a heartbeat, aware of the enormity of the danger. Approaching the dragon was suicide in the eyes of most, but instinct screamed, this creature needed her. Her hands moved to her satchel, pulling out salves, herbs, and potions. "Stay back, human." The Alpha King's voice was low, resonant, carrying over the trees like a warning thunderclap. "I won't hurt him," Ilara said, her voice steady though her heart raced. "I can heal him." The Alpha King's eyes narrowed, suspicion flaring. "No human has ever dared enter my forest," he said, stepping closer, each movement predatory, controlled. "And none have ever touched my dragon and survived." Ilara's gaze met his, unwavering. "I do not seek survival," she said simply. "I seek to heal." The dragon groaned, low and painful, and Ilara's breath caught. She moved closer, ignoring the tension coiling like steel in the Alpha King's presence. Kneeling beside the creature, she pressed her palms against its scales. A warmth radiated from her hands, seeping into the dragon's wounded body. The Alpha King watched, his golden eyes flickering with something unspoken curiosity, confusion, perhaps awe. Minutes passed like hours. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Ilara murmured ancient words her grandmother had taught her, words meant to bind pain, soothe fire, and calm spirits. The dragon's breathing slowed, its amber eyes softening. Finally, it lowered its massive head, allowing her to gently place a healing salve across a deep gash. The Alpha King's stance shifted slightly. No one had ever approached his dragon, let alone healed it. And yet here was a human undaunted, calm, and powerful in ways he did not yet understand. "Ilara," he finally said, the single word carrying weight beyond her comprehension. "You have done what none dared. Why, I could not let it suffer," she whispered, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "No matter who it belongs to." For the first time, the Alpha King's expression softened. The beast he had feared losing had been saved by a mere human, someone with courage rare enough to pierce his solitude. And in that moment, something shifted, a spark of destiny, invisible yet undeniable, threaded between human and Alpha, healer and dragon, fear and hope. The Alpha King knelt beside her, close enough that their shadows merged. Perhaps, he murmured almost to himself, "You are not like the others." Ilara's heart fluttered. She did not yet know what her actions would demand of her, or how deeply entwined her fate had become with the Alpha King, the dragon, and the untamed lands of the Silverfang Pack. But one truth was undeniable: her life and her heart had changed forever. The forest had quieted, the tension hanging like mist in the early evening air. The dragon stirred slightly, lifting its massive head to study Ilara with golden, intelligent eyes. She felt the weight of its gaze, sensing gratitude and trust in a way humans rarely understood. The Alpha King remained still, shadowed by the trees. His expression was unreadable, yet his gaze never left her. Slowly, he approached the dragon, his steps precise, deliberate. The dragon growled low in its throat, not aggression, but a warning. It was protective, a creature bound by loyalty, and now, inexplicably, by the human who had healed it. "You've earned its trust," he said finally, his voice a low rumble, carrying both respect and a warning. "No human has ever done that. Why now?" Illyra wiped sweat from her brow, her hands still tingling from the energy she had poured into the dragon's wounds. "I don't know," she admitted honestly. "It wasn't about trust, it was about doing what's right." The Alpha King's eyes narrowed slightly, studying her. Every movement she made, every word she spoke, seemed to resonate differently in his presence. Humans were fragile, fleeting, but she was neither fragile nor fleeting. She was fire in a world that had grown cold. "You will not leave the forest until you prove yourself," he said suddenly, his voice absolute. "If you wish to return to the village, you must first face the trials of the Silverfang pack." Illyra's heart skipped a beat. Trials, she had heard whispers of them. The Alpha's tests designed to measure courage, skill, and heart. Few survived, fewer returned, and yet she felt a strange thrill, a pull in her chest that whispered she could face anything. "What kind of trials?" she asked, steadying her voice. He moved closer to the dragon, placing a hand lightly against its scaled snout. "The trials of heart, mind, and body. The forest does not forgive weakness. The pack respects only strength." The dragon's gaze shifted from Illyra to the Alpha King, as if sensing something unspoken. Then, almost imperceptibly, it bowed its massive head toward her, a gesture of allegiance. Illyra gasped softly, understanding the gravity of the moment. The creature had chosen her, and by extension, the Alpha King's attention was now hers. "Follow me," he commanded, turning toward the darker depths of the forest. His long cloak brushed against the undergrowth, stirring leaves in a whispering wave. Illyra hesitated for only a heartbeat before stepping after him. The deeper they ventured, the forest changed. Shadows grew long, twisted shapes flitting in the corners of her vision. The air was thick with the scent of moss, pine, and something older, wilder magic. Here, even the wind felt alive, as if it carried warnings and secrets in equal measure. "First," he said, halting at a clearing where moonlight spilled like silver over the ground, "you must demonstrate courage. The forest tests all who enter it." From the shadows emerged a pack of wolves, not ordinary wolves, but silver-eyed guardians of the territory. They circled slowly, growling, their eyes glinting in the moonlight. Illyra's stomach tightened, yet she did not falter. She knelt slightly, holding her hands out, speaking the words she had learned to calm animals. The wolves paused, tilting their heads, sniffing the air. Slowly, one by one, they circled closer, finally accepting her presence. The Alpha King watched silently, a flicker of approval crossing his sharp features. "Few humans can command even one of my guardians," he said quietly. "You commanded all, that is remarkable." Illyra's heart pounded, but her eyes never left his. "I do not seek to impress," she said softly. "I seek only to protect." For a long moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the rustle of leaves and the dragon's low rumble. Then the Alpha King stepped closer, his golden gaze locking with hers. "Perhaps you are more than I imagined, but courage alone is not enough. You must face the trial of heart." Before she could question him, the dragon let out a sharp, commanding roar, shaking the clearing. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shimmered with pale blue light, and images flickered in the air. Visions of her past, of her fears, of her deepest desires. The forest had begun the trial. Illyra's breath caught. She could see herself, small and vulnerable, running from danger, losing loved ones, and yet somehow she also saw herself healing, standing firm, choosing bravery over fear. She realized that this trial was not about strength or skill. It was about her very soul, her capacity to love, to heal, and to face the impossible. The Alpha King's voice cut through the visions, soft but commanding. "Will you rise, healer, or will you falter?" Alara's hands tightened at her sides. The dragon's warm gaze held her steady, and in that moment she knew the answer. She would rise, not for him. Not for the forest, but for the bond she felt between herself, the creature she had healed, and the mysterious Alpha who now watched her with a mixture of awe and desire. The trial of heart had begun, and she would not fail. The forest pulsed with energy as the visions began to fade. Moonlight danced through the canopy, casting long silver streaks across the clearing. Alara's pulse raced, her heart still pounding from the trial of heart, but she stood tall, refusing to let fear take root. The Alpha King remained close, his presence overwhelming, magnetic. Every motion he made exuded dominance and danger. Yet there was a softness in his gaze reserved only for the dragon. And now, for her. "You have courage," he murmured, his voice low, almost a growl in heart, "but there is still the matter of the final trial." Alira's eyes met his, steady but wary. "What is it?" she asked, feeling the tension between them tighten like a drawn bowstring. "The trial of desire and control," he said, stepping closer. His golden eyes bore into hers, intense and unflinching. "The forest tests not just the body and the mind, but the fire within. It will tempt you, it will challenge your spirit." Alara swallowed hard, sensing the charge in the air between them. She felt it in her chest, in her blood, in the way the dragon's scales shivered under the moonlight. The Alpha King was more than just an alpha. He was a storm, a force of nature, and a man who could ignite something inside her she had never known. Before she could respond, a shadow flickered at the edge of the clearing. A rival pack, drawn by the commotion of the dragon's injury, emerged from the trees. Their leader, a hulking wolf, man with eyes like frozen steel, stepped forward with a snarl. "You dare touch the dragon of the Alpha King," he spat. "Do you not know what you risk?" The Alpha King's lips curled into a faint, dangerous smile. "She does not fear," he said simply, his hand brushing the dragon's massive snout. "And neither should you." Alara felt the dragon shift behind her, a protective force radiating warmth and strength. Her fear melted into resolve. The rival pack lunged, teeth bared, claws extended, but the Alpha King moved like lightning, intercepting them with calculated precision. His movements were a dance of power, each strike measured, each motion fluid. Alara realized with awe that he was not only the protector of the dragon, but also the master of the forest. Yet, in the midst of battle, she felt something else's eyes flicking toward her, holding a question, a spark of need. Her instincts kicked in. She drew a vial from her satchel, filled with a glowing elixir of her own making, and threw it toward the ground. A burst of ethereal light expanded outward, blinding the rival pack and forcing them to retreat into the shadows. The forest seemed to sigh in relief as the threat dissipated. The Alpha King's eyes softened as he stepped toward her. "You are unlike any human I have ever known," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "You face fear, danger, and even me, and yet you stand stronger than ever." Alara felt the heat of his gaze, a magnetic pull that made her knees weak and her heart hammer. I just did what I knew was right," she whispered. He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. The motion was gentle, intimate, and yet charged with undeniable desire. "Right is rare," he murmured, "and precious, perhaps even worth claiming." The dragon, sensing the bond forming between them, let out a low, approving growl, curling its massive form around them like a living shield. The Alpha King's hand lingered near hers, and for a fleeting moment, the forest vanished, leaving only the two of them, the dragon, and the raw, unspoken fire burning between them. "Alara," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "you have healed what even I could not protect, and in doing so, you have claimed more than my dragon. You have claimed me." Her breath caught, and for the first time she did not resist. Instead, she stepped closer, drawn to him by forces she could not name but could no longer deny. The moonlight glinted off his golden eyes, and she knew, deep in her soul, that nothing would ever be the same. The forest, the dragon, and the Alpha King had all chosen her, and she had chosen them in return, but even in the midst of desire, a shadow lingered. Rival packs would not forget this display. Enemies would come, testing her courage and the strength of the bond she had forged. And the Alpha King, powerful as he was, had secrets even darker than the night around them. Alera's journey was only beginning. The bond of fire, blood, and heart had been ignited, and nothing in the world could extinguish it.